Hey folks, what's up? It's Andrew. Welcome back. So in my last video, I showed you a quick project that you can add to your resume. You take Microsoft Forms, you use Power Automate, and then use Azure AD to do a very simple joiner process. I want to take this a little step further and show you another cool project that you can do where you can set up federation between Okta and Azure. A common use case that could happen that actually I encountered in my career is you have partners who won't get access to your system. In this use case, we'll have Okta as our primary identity provider or IDP, and our customer or our partner has Azure. Full warning, I have two furry friends here, so if something happens or the delivery man comes or something, the delivery person comes, they might go buck wild. But hopefully they'll stay calm. You might see them scurrying in the background, so hey, got some guests today. Back to what we're gonna do. So in the project, I'm gonna show you Okta. I'm gonna show you how to set up Okta. I'm also gonna show you Azure and how to set up too. I'm also gonna walk through the different licenses you're gonna require. The cool part is a lot of this work is free. The developer account for Okta is free, which is awesome. Appreciate that from Okta to let you learn. Azure, you can do a trial if you sign up for a basic license. You can up it because you're gonna need a P2 license, and I'll talk about really what that means. The whole point of this is you'll have your partner come and access your Okta. They'll put in their password, they'll put in their email of their company. Okta will then redirect them to their Azure portal and get them access, and then they'll get access to Okta, and then you can streamline or really separate or scope that down to whatever they can only see. So that's the project. Stay tuned, it's gonna be some fun. So let's go. Okay, so on my screen right here, you'll see that I'm at developer.okta.signup. And in the past, I mentioned that you need a business account for Okta. Actually, that's kind of not true. You actually can take your Workforce Identity Cloud here, this Access Developer, click on here and sign up. And your work email is you can actually bypass this, which is convenient, and you just continue with Google, which is nice. So basically, when you click on Google here, you'll tell them where you're from, your state. So we'll here and continue. And it's gonna redirect you, and you can pick all your different accounts that you can redirect you, and that will create you an instance, which is really cool. I've already done this work, so I'm not gonna do it again, and I'll show you where that is, but I think that's so awesome that you don't really need a business account to do it. However, if you took my first project where you created and used a basic business account, which is $6 a month for a user, you can use that email too. And that works and gives you access to create this domain or tenant, as what Okta calls it. But I think it's so cool that I want to really let the team know or let the people know that you can actually use your Google or even GitHub, which is kind of awesome. So again, Okta, kudos to you for doing that, because I know there are some other providers out there where you have to go through a paywall, or unfortunately you need to be on a project where they are implementing the software, you get access to it, which I today still feel very strongly against, because I don't understand where you have all these jobs that want this specific application experience, and you look at yourself like, how do I get that experience when you can't get it? It doesn't make sense to me, and I really hope they go through the model what Okta does, where they give you a developer license you can learn, because we're going to need some talent here. The whole point of my YouTube channel is to bring in talent to show you that we can do identity access management. And when you put stuff like a paywall behind a certain applications, how are you going to get people? It's such a catch-22 in my opinion. So I really hope that these other companies follow suit and give more access outside, let people train, because the need is there. So back to Okta. So we were able to go in and create an Okta account. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to log into my Okta and show you guys what that looks like. So this is actually the Okta instance that I use when I sign up through Google, which is convenient. And you're gonna need a master account that you're gonna have, and those are profiles there. And if the need is there, if you guys really want to, I am decently well versed in Okta, so I can definitely show people more Okta stuff if they want in terms of ins and outs of Okta. I am Okta certified from a professional level. I should have gotten my administrator cert, but I switched jobs. But I still want it because I was very ingrained to it, because it's nice to really know other identity providers, other IGA systems, to really understand how it works, especially the fact how Okta is expanding outside of just access management and doing more of your overall user lifecycle management, or LCM. They're going to be in the market with your SailPoints, your Savients, all these other companies that really do IGA, and just have more competitive market. So, okay, I'm going to log into my account, And I use password manager, so let me go ahead and just set that up over here. Let me just put in my password. Finally, I'm in. So from here, I'm in. Let's go in and log into the account. So we're signing in here. So now you'll notice that once I'm in, it's just a setup page. So I don't really need to do all this at the moment because again, what we're trying to do here is we're going to do the projects. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set up your Okta. So if this is a brand new Okta, you've never done Okta before in your life, you're going to get an account. First thing I always suggest you do is you go to directory, you create a people, and you create another user. You want to create another user that will be your failsafe, because I cannot tell you how many times when I was testing this that I actually did something where I locked myself out, and I'm like, oh crap. Okta is cool sometimes, though they'll give you another instance. You have to just figure it out or upload or sign up again using different methods to get those accounts. So I always suggest you create a failsafe. So any one of these. So for example, this is the account that I use. This is my Gmail because we saw earlier I did sign in with Google. That's what I created. And this is my backup account. These are my administrator accounts, just in case. For our testing purposes, before we start, I just want to go in and just really remove these two users because these are the users we're going to be using to do our whole project and test. And I want to show you guys from the get-go how that looks like. So let me just go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, great. So this is gonna load. Should be gone. Great. Okay. So again, I want you to create a new user. How do you do that in Okta? So you just add a person here. You'll put their first name, last name, their username, and it must be email. Okta does it where they have their emails. So you go in and you want to create those emails, and then a password. It's up to you. I usually set by admin because you're going to use this as your failsafe, and then you're going to put there. I wouldn't check this, and like all failsafes or break glass scenarios, you can do it in a password manager to save your account. You can also put on a piece of paper, I'm not kidding, and put it like in a safe or something like that. It's just your fail safe, and just more if you get locked out, you can get access to it. Whatever you want to do, nothing's the wrong answer. Trust me, you'd be surprised at a professional level where we actually have that, where we will have a break glass account and we write down the password on a piece of paper, we put it in a safe. And then the customer can access it, or they'll have ways that in that safe has other sensitive information, and they can have cameras looking at that too to just validate who's taking it there if something should happen. Once you create your account, you're going to get something like this. What you want to do is once your user is created, you want to come into admin roles right here. And you're going to add a user to the super user. So you'll come and edit your assignment. And I think I already created this, but you'll come in and you'll add assignment. You'll click the drop down box here for roles, and you'll choose super admin. And this will be your backup user just in case something should happen. Hopefully nothing happens, but just in case something should happen, that's what you would do. Okay, so now that we understand we want to create a safe glass or break glass account, let's go and start to set things up. Okta does a great job at really updating their documentation of how to do step-by-step. So what are we doing? We're going to have Okta redirect users to Azure to authenticate themselves. And yes, I know there are really other business cases where if you have an application, let's say a Salesforce, I use Salesforce a lot because it's easy to really use because they're very big. You can just have them set up that in their Azure instance and they can do their own single sign-on that way. I understand that. This scenario, there are times where maybe this is a homegrown application, for example, where it lives in your system, but you don't want to give them access to your Active Directory if you use that. And many companies today, they use Active Directory still to this day because it's so ingrained. There's so much to build upon there from years and years and years of using it that you have a lot of customers that are more hybrid. Well, they'll have their on-prem AD, but they'll still have their cloud, Okta, Azure AD, whatever those ones, and they'll kind of sync together. And that's common today because of that whole scenario. Once you really understand that part and that you want to get access to it, we now need to go and create that identity provider or that connection. So in Okta here, what you do is you'll come into your security, you go to identity providers, and I've already created this already, but I want to walk you through what I did. You'll come and you'll go add identity provider right here. And what's interesting is you would think Microsoft IDP, you actually don't, because this is more of a social login perspective. So on this one is if you have an Okta sign-in page, which you're going to see, and you want to have people be able to authenticate using their social login, that's another way too. You can have it do Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, LinkedIn, and cool. I just noticed this. They have login.gov, which is awesome. That's kind of cool. Before, when I was really into this in my previous role, we didn't have these options, which is kind of nice. You actually pick SAML. We're doing a SAML connection. And that's the work right there. And I've already created this, so I'm not going to go. I'm actually going to walk you through step by step what I did. So I'm going to come to here. I'm going to edit this provider here, and what you'll do is this. And all this information that I'm saying here, I will link in the show notes, all the steps, all the links, because Okta does a great job of detailing it pretty well. So we're going to come here, and we're going to create this provider. So you want to put IDP email, IDP user.email. That's what they suggested, and it is on here. So right here, enter that. For match against, what this really means is this. When I authenticate in, so I am connecting from my Azure into, and then it says, yes, Andrew exists in this Azure environment. If I go all the way now to Okta, I want to go, does this person exist already? And I'll use my username to validate that, which is an email. If my email address isn't there on Okta, then I will create a new account. But if it is there, just sign me right in, which is nice. And that's really what this match against is. You have other options. You can use regular email, username or email, city, state, zip code, division, all other different attributes you can use to really match against that if the user exists at all. I usually prefer, to be very honest, the username is pretty much easy because you have time where you'll log in and people have the same cost center. How does that really work? It can get messy, so I wouldn't even bother with that. I would stick to these three. We don't want to link anything, and you can understand here, link here is when it comes in and disabled, does a link users together, because there can be time from time that could happen, where you'll have a user that maybe might leave and come back, and then they'll automatically link each other, a match that is disabled. So I usually leave it as disabled. And now here's the big thing. If there's no match found, what do you want Okta to do? Do you want to create a user, JIT, which is just in time, okay? So just in time provisioning, or just on creation of the user account, or do you want them to redirect to the sign-in page? For our intents purposes, we want this person to get access to our system. So we want to actually create a new user, and that's what Okta to do. I don't have an application to really show you right now because I don't have anything to stand up. I'm hoping to do that in the future because some of these applications that I'm testing, they cost money, and I don't get paid for YouTube at the moment, so I don't have access to that. But I hopefully will show you in the future. But what is nice about this is if you can have multiple partners if you want to set this up by their email string, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can update attributes if you want to. You can reactivate users. You can unsuspend users if that's the case. You can also put them in groups, or find user or sync groups. And what does this mean? I don't want to just create users from a partner, give them access to Okta and say, hey, have at it. Everything is your ocean. No, most of the time, or majority of the time, or all the time actually, you're, as an Okta administrator, you want to really make sure you pare that down. Again, least privilege. You want to make sure that you only give this person access to whatever application they need to do their job, and that's pretty much it. So commonly what we'll do is we will create a group, assign that group to a application. So again, we'll use Salesforce as our example. We will take that, put that group, assign it to there. So when a new user from that company comes in, they're automatically assigned to that group, and then that group will give them access to whatever applications we've already signed from there. I'm hoping in the future, or I will have access to a couple of applications that can show you that whole process of assigning groups, how that works from there, because it's very important and it's really the bread and butter of Okta. Now, once you get here, you need to kind of take a stop. You need to now log into your Azure portal because you're going to need to get some information and start that up too. I went a little bit backwards because in this in this documentation that Okta gives, they actually tell you can do that and then go into Azure. So, but this right here, they assume you've already created some information for them. So I did a little bit backwards, but I wanted to explain, because I was already in Okta, I wanted to explain to everybody that setup, because it's not, you don't have to do one or the other first. You can do either or, it doesn't matter, but since we're in Okta, I thought I would show you that there. So let me log into my Azure portal. So portal.azure.com, and you want to make sure you're logged in with your super administrator. So like right now, for example, I am not. I'm logged in with the end user, which we're gonna be using. So let me switch users real quick. And I'm gonna sign in with a different user, and I'm gonna sign in with my user with my global administrator account. And as everybody knows, we're all about MFA. So if you don't have MFA, get MFA. It's required, especially for your admins. You want to have that additional authentication factor, MFA, whatever. You would be surprised. So I'm in now, and let's go into Azure Active Directory or ADD. And here, what you want to do is this. When you come in here, again, I remind you, you need a P2 license. You cannot do this with a free account. I do have a workload free account, but I had to step up to another license because that is a prerequisite. And in the documentation, Okta, they state that, but I'll also list the prerequisites in the description of the video below, so you have that too. Again, if you sign up for a trial, Microsoft does give you I think it's 200 free credits, which is kind of cool. And then the nice thing I like about Microsoft, which I really appreciate, is if you set and forget it, you're not gonna get charged once your time is over, which is nice. You have to set the plan to pay as you go, which is convenient because that's nice. Because I can get to a time where I sign up for something, I forget, and I get charged. I'm like, damn it, forgot. Oops. I get yelled at by my wife. It sucks. So that's the nice thing about Microsoft. You still put a credit card in to create an account, but it won't charge you until you set that flag to pay as you go, which is nice. So you can always do a P2 license and just do a trial, which is nice because again, what we're trying to do here, we're trying to show you no identity, show some experience by projects, and then you can explain what you did. All right. When you come into your Azure AD here, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the enterprise applications and you're gonna create one. I already have a couple here in Okta too, but I kind of want to walk you through it step by step real quick. It's not difficult. You hit the new account and then you'll go to create own application because it's not in the Azure AD gallery. So you're gonna create a new account here. You're gonna put in Okta or test or whatever, and then you're gonna go to this bottom part right here, and you're gonna create it. I already have Okta, so I'm not gonna create it, but I'll walk you through what I did with mine. So when you come back to enterprise applications, you go to Okta. This is the page you're gonna get. The first thing you're gonna do when you get here is you're gonna go to set up single sign-on, and there are gonna be options to choose from. And I've already done this, but you're gonna choose SAML. The first thing you do is your basic configuration right here, step 1. And here you're gonna edit, and this is something that comes from Okta, so it's a little bit skewed. At the time you do this, you're not gonna have this because you need this to give to Okta first to give you this information. So what I always do is just make up a fake URL. It won't kill anything. So make up a fake URL, http.espn.com, test.com, whatever. Okta's not gonna go in and look at that. For both the identity ID and your reply URL. You want to make sure you do those and you save it. Now here's the critical part that I want to really make sure that the claims. In your claims, so what are claims? Claims in the SAML is what information am I sending to Okta to create the account and merge those accounts. And I had some issues about this, and I was fortunate to find somebody on Fiverr that helped me out. And this has nothing to do with Fiverr at all, but I want to just give a shout out to the individual who helped me out. And I'm going to link in the show notes below. And let me actually just show real quick her page real quick. So let me go here. So let me here, amazing person, very easy to work with, very patient with me. She is more of a expert in the SSO SAML field where I am okay. Full disclosure, I am okay. I learned how to do this, right? I hustled. I really made sure that I learned this myself because I was sick and tired of not understanding when some developers say something. So I thought, hey, take it upon myself to learn. So if you want to be better, learn. It takes some time, but you'll get it. But I was stuck with some claims. That's not my forte. And I reached out to her, and she was very easy to work with, very comfortable, and her pricing was on point. So I really suggest you, if you have any problems, she does IAM since 2017, and what I used her for a lot was a single sign-on SCIM and SAML, especially with Okta and Azure. But she was very easy to really work with, and she helped me out with my claims because I was really stuck. So I'll link to the description below if you have any problems or questions, and reach out to her. She's very easy to work with, and her pricing is very good. She won't charge you arm and a leg. Very good to work with. So, thank you for your help. So back to the demo. So we want to make sure that our claims are. So when you first create this, you're not going to get a couple of claims. What do I want to send to Okta in terms of creating an account? So if I log in as Andrew on my Azure site, what do I want to send? What information about me do I want to send to Okta when we create the account? So for this specific instance, I'm sending a company email, given name, which is your first name, my cell phone number, my UPN or my user principal name, and in Azure, it's always your email address, and then your last name and my company. And this is already required. The big thing that people need to understand too is when you create your claims, what I always do is I use this right here, this HTTP schema claims, and put it there because you're going to need to do that because it needs to map, and I'll show you in Okta where to put that into. And again, Okta does it for you already. So you want to make sure you put your claims in and this all works and your source attributes is correct. So once you're done with this, and this is where I got stuck too, is what I did before is when you come to your SAML certificates, you want to come here. Once you're done with your claims, what you want sent over, you will go to edit and you want to create a new certificate. This is the original one, and I found in the past it doesn't work for me. I get errors all the time, and I didn't understand why. So what I did was, and I found a great blog post from Moral Solutions. I'll link them in the description below too to thank them for helping me find it because I couldn't find a lot of information about what's going on. And in their blog post that gentleman wrote, it really helped me understand why. And I followed his steps, and it worked for me. So you want to create a new certificate. This is what happens because in the documentation right here, you're going to need to download this certificate base 64 and download it. You're going to need that. And finally, you're going to need the login URL and the Azure AD identifier, and then you save. Once you're done there, this is where we go back to Okta, and all this again is in the documentation. I just have done this so many times that I have this memorized now. Okay. Love coffee. Once you get this information here, go put it on a notepad or set it aside. Going back to your Okta instance here, we're back here. Your IDP URI, this information right here, what is this? In your Azure instance, that is your Azure AD identifier, this right here. And you can click on this little clipboard right here to copy it. You copy the Azure AD identifier and you stick it into your IDP issue URI, boom. The sign-on URL is going to be this login URL right here. So this will go into there. Certificate. You remember the certificate that you downloaded from here? Wherever you put that from, you come and you import it there, and then you're done, and then you save. What you're going to get now is you're going to get an assertion URL and a audience URI. This is what you need for Azure. You remember earlier when I said, hey, go back here and make up some dummy information here? This is where you'll come back when you save and get that information and put it in your SAML configuration there. All this is in the documentation, so I'm not making things up or you're like, oh my God, dude, where is this? I forgot. It's in documentation. So just follow that. Edit here and put them in. So your identifier right here, this SAML2, this is gonna be your audience URI will go into the top one, ED, and then your reply URL, your assertion, which is self-explanatory, is this part right here. Copy and paste that, and then update and save, and then you're done here. We're not done yet though. So now what we're gonna do is go back to Okta. Once we're done here, we gotta do mapping. And what Okta tells you to do is you go to your mappings first, and you want to come here. This is your mappings because when you send over information, you want to map correctly from what attribute from what attribute from Azure will fit into what attributes in Okta when you create the account. If it doesn't, it won't work right. You'll get errors. The first line here is leave this alone because you're going to make some changes. You'll come here and you'll unmap or do not map all these other ones and then save it. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again, but I wanted to show you the first thing you do. Once you're done for that, give it 30 seconds, come to custom, and everything that you see here, you're going to delete it. And then you're going to wait another 30 seconds, and you're going to recreate it. Because you're going to remap things. Okta has something funny and finicky that when you start to create new strings, you can't edit the external name. The external name is on your claims it's pretty much the namespace, okay? So once you're done, you'll come here, you'll go to add attribute and display name. You can just follow this nice thing right here. It tells you, walks you through exactly what you need to put here. Email address, given name, surname, and you'll do that here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. You'll do it here. And I've already done that. And I added 2 more, right? I added my company name and I added my mobile phone number because I wanted to make sure I push that over. Once that is done, give yourself 30 more seconds. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to your mappings right here. And you're gonna go back to this part. So there's 2 things, right? This second tab is if Okta is sending things over to your Azure. We ain't gonna do that. We're going back to here, where now once we're done, we're gonna go here and change the mappings. We're gonna go back here, and we're gonna put first name. So you'll click this drop down box, and you'll notice down here, these are all predefined. Here are all the custom strings that you created. Come here and pick and choose first name, last name, and then link them. And then on your mapping, I use email as a login. That's what I use. And I just link from there. And then I'm done. So you save it. Once you're done, everything is good to go. It should be now set up. Now, what you want to do is this now. Once you do the setup, what you're going to do is you're going to come back to here, back to Azure, and you're going to test this out. And the first thing you need to do is when you test this out is you need to assign people to this application. And I have 2 users, Andrew and Tony Starks. These are my 2 users. So when you test this, you are testing that whole flow there. You want to make sure it works. Always make sure you add users, if not you're going to get an error. So once you're done, you add users, click on single sign-on from right here, and you're going to go all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to go test. Test sign-in. And now, Microsoft's going to ask you to pick which user you're going to test. So I'm going to pick Tony Starks. And I already had his password in, and now we're going to test. We're going to do it one more time. And now you'll notice I'm in. It works. Yes, I'm in the dashboard. Yes. I was scared for a minute that it might have aired out on me. That would have sucked. Now you know your whole process works correctly. And remember, in the beginning of the video, I took out Tony because I want to make sure that I can do is create. And now what you want to do is back in your Okta instance, go to people, there's Tony. He's there, all good to go. And that's your whole setup from there. And now let's take it a step further, okay? Now that we have this done, that's great. That's a project. Let's now do what we call routing rules. And what routing rules is in Okta is I'm gonna have people log into my instance from a Okta sign-on page, okay? So what does that mean? If I come here and I go to Okta, right here, I'm still logging to Tony, but if I sign out, this is the page that you're going to see normally. What I want to do is this. When I come to this page, I want people to put in their email address and then redirect them back to their IDP or their identity provider. And what we do, how we accomplish that is we use routing rules. Go back to Okta. I'm not sure Okta will kick me out or not. We'll see. But I shouldn't because I'm logged in as a user. You come to security, you go back to your identity provider. Oh, it did lock me out. That's okay. You go back to your identity provider, you come to routing rules right here. And under routing rules, you'll see you have a default one. We're gonna create a brand new one. And we're gonna say all things IAM redirect. What does this mean? So from there, if the user's IP is anywhere in the world, and there are times where if you want to be restrictive, you can do where you have ranges, and that's a different video where we talk about the different ranges in your networks. I'm not gonna go there right now. You can do any type of devices, or you can pick and choose what type of device you ask to. Windows, Macs, OSs, Linux accounts, your mobile phones. What am I restricting access from this? I'm gonna say any device, it's all good. Any applications, or is user accessing a specific application, you can do that there too. And here's the big one, matches. So I want to use regex, okay? And I'm gonna go at allthingsidentity.com. And I'm gonna choose my, if they see this, I want them to choose that. What does this mean? Let's break this down. If I have a user, their IP or their internet protocol address is anywhere in the world, they're using any device, they're going to access any application, but we have groups for that. And then then I'm gonna have to say if it matches on login. So if I have any email that ends in @allthingsidentity, redirect them to this identity provider, which we've already created. Let's create that rule. And once you're done, you need to activate it. So what should happen now is when I go back to this page and I try to sign in, when I put in my user address of anything, it should redirect me. So let's look at one thing real quick. From our directory, you'll notice here that I have Tony Starks and I have my user I created and then my failsafe user that I'm actually in right now. Back to Azure, you'll notice that in my user groups, I have 2 people. I have Andrew Tester, who's also on this. So I'm gonna use this user to try to log in, okay? And in this one, you'll notice that this is my email address. So let's take this, okay, and let's go here and let's, I believe it's this. Oh, that's right. Okay, let me log out. So that works. Okay, let me log out of here. Okay, here's our sign-in page right here. Login, HTML. So if I put in this email address, I hit next, it's gonna redirect me. You notice that, right? It redirected me to Azure. But let's show you the real steps of everything going on. So let me go back, okay? Let me copy this and let's go into incognito mode or private mode. So now we're in private mode. Let's go back and go here and let's log in. Same thing, okay? So let's go back to our user. So let's go back to the other email, other link, and let's grab back that account. Let's go here. Okay. Paste this, and now I'm gonna hit next. So now it redirects me back to Azure, to my Azure. It says, hey, put in your information. I need to make sure you are who you are. So I paste my information here and I hit next. It's gonna say, what's your password? So let's find out what my password is. So I'm in. Do you want to stay tuned? I always say no. Money. Yes. I'm in. It works. I have a blank dashboard in Okta because again, I don't have any applications to really set work. But now you know how it works. I just did a federation. And if you go back to your Okta, yes, go back to Okta here, you go to people, let me go back and use my admin user here. Now Andrew Tester is there, it's active. And you'll notice one thing on profiles. You remember the claims? Username, look, my first name came over, my last name came over, my email address came over, my mobile number came over, and my company name came over. I put as organization. Those are all the claims that you did. And if there are any groups in there, I would be part of that. So there you go, federation, bam. So let's talk about what we did. Let's talk about how we explain this to employers and you describe their project yourself. What did you do? You did a use case where you did federation. You did a federation where you use Okta as your primary IDP. This is where your applications live, and you want to give partner access to your Okta instance to access some applications. There are instances where you can be like, why don't you just do it in Azure, which I fully understand. But for our use case intents purposes, there could be an application that's maybe homegrown that you can't do that, which is fine. You set up a federation where you have Okta sending a SAML claim or assertion to Azure, the partner instance, to validate the user that they're there and they're active. If they are active, you're gonna come on in and then Okta's gonna say, does this user already exist? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Come on in, we already have you, here's your account. If they don't, they're gonna take the information or the claims that you put in your Azure instance and you're going to submit there, and that will create your account. And if you create groups in there, which I highly suggest you do, you will restrict access to whatever application they only have access to, which is more or less least privilege. That's what you did. And that's common in identity today, because the reason why is I didn't want to manage somebody's account. It's that simple. Yes, they have an account in my user directory here in Okta. I get that, but being that most organizations have a hybrid, they have AD and they have the cloud provider, whatever it is, GCP, AWS, Azure. I don't want to have a user object in AD. That's not my responsibility. I don't want to manage another person's account. What if a person works for, let's say, UPS, they go on strike, which I heard got averted, but if they went on strike and they shut down applications, that person, maybe the person is like evil and they would come in and they know they can get in without that assertion. They'll just come into our system, use username and password and log in, and they maybe do something malicious inside Okta or even worse. But if I have it where they can't log in every time they put in their email, which you saw already, and then they have to go redirect to their Azure, and if they're inactive, you ain't getting in. And that's the cool part. And if they try to get in and they come back and it shows inactive, you can tell Okta saying, I saw and it passed me inactive on your claims, disable that account automatically. You can do that, or suspend for 30 days to make sure, and then you can deactivate. These are common use cases today that we as identity providers, IAM people, we solve. We have to do federation. And that's how you do it. And that's one way. There's other ways too. I showed you the social logins. You might have a company that allows social logins. There are many companies today that use Okta as their primary platform to log in. The people who do the CISP, IC2org, their platform, they're Okta. And that's how it can work to get you access today. And as you grow in your career, this is things you can do. So I hope this video is really supposed to show you that is you can take another project within Okta and Azure and show that you have experience from both of those. So when you can put this as a potential project on your resume, you can explain it to hiring and say, hey, look, I understand I might not have 2-3 years experience, but guess what? I have the nitty-gritty. I can show you exactly what I did and explain to you what I did. And if you are people who want to go for certifications, like your Okta Professional certifications, your administrative certifications, your SC300 certification for Azure, for identity provider, which actually I'm going for at the moment, you can take the certification experience or the stuff you learn, and here's how you apply it. And that's a pro tip that I want to leave with everybody here is I've interviewed many people and they have all these amazing certs. And then I ask them questions about the cert or what they did apply, and they give me this, oh, I'm a good studier. That doesn't work. Certs don't mean nothing unless you can apply it. So really make sure that when you take the certification exams and you pass it, you apply it somewhere. And I applaud Okta for giving you the opportunity to really take what you did, do it for free, and gain your experience from there. There you go, project number 2. It took me a while because I was struggling on some of the claims, but I got it done. So I really hope this helped you in terms of setting up a federation, what you need to do, how to explain what you did and how it works, and the use case that I'm trying to solve for you so you can really understand that better. I have more projects I'm on the pipeline. I'm actually gonna work on some videos where I'm gonna talk about interviewing for IAM roles and how to set up your resume properly. I had a commenter ask me a couple weeks ago about could I do a video on that, and I said, yeah, I'm on it, and I actually am very excited to do that. So my next video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a job that I found on LinkedIn, and we're gonna take our resume, and I'm gonna say how do we align this to really make my resume pop in terms of am I qualified for this role. Thank you so much for seeing this. I bet it's a long video again, but I really hope this helped you step by step on how it works. I'm really excited for more things to come. I just want to give one more shout out to all those people who subscribe to me. I'm just so honored at the amount of people who have subscribed to my YouTube channel and have brought value, and your comments mean the world to me. I really appreciate that. I really hope that you continue to grow and learn with me, and you can share to other people who want to get into the space, because we need great people like yourself who's watching here, because identity is not going anywhere. Identity now is your new perimeter. Thank you so much. Have a great time, great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.